Hello everyone! This week's Read Aloud is called Dirt, the Scoop on Soil. It's written by Natalie M. Rosinsky, illustrated by Sheree Boyd. Let's take a look at this front cover. What do you notice? I see some dirt too. There's something else in this picture. Worms! I wonder why there's worms. I also see some blades of grass. And it looks like it's grass all around. I can't wait to find out more about dirt. Now, this story is a non-fiction book, which means it's a true story. There's lots of facts in this story. We start off with the table of contents. This helps us to figure out each section in the book and where to find it. For example, what is dirt made of? That's found on page number 4. It's alive! That's on page number 14. Keeping dirt healthy on page 18. Depending on dirt starts on page 20. Experiments, page 22. We'll have to check that out. Fast facts, topsoil terrors, page 23. The glossary on page 24. To learn more on page 24 as well. And the index on page 24. Let's start with, what is dirt made of? Dig deep. Unearth some dirt. Hold it in your hand. Dirt is a mix of different parts of nature. Crumbling rocks make up dirt. Wriggling worms and scurrying bugs live in dirt. Rotting plants and bones are part of dirt too. Now this is a cool, fun fact. Dirt covers almost every place on Earth. Sometimes you can't see the dirt because it's covered by grass, buildings, roads, or even water. Soil is another word for dirt. Put some soil in a big glass jar and fill it with water. Stir and wait. The soil will separate in layers. We're going to pause here for just a moment because Miss R went outside and got some dirt and put it in a jar. Ooh, lots of dirt. I have some water here that I'm going to pour in. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to cover it up. Now it says mix. I don't have a spoon, so I'm going to make it really tight, and I'm going to shake it so I can mix it. Ooh. We're going to let this sit overnight, and at the end of this video, I'm going to show you what happens, and we're going to see if it does layer out. Let's keep reading. We have humus up here on the top. Clay looks like it's the next level. Silt, sand, and rocks and pebbles. Rocks and pebbles fall to the bottom. Why do you suppose that is? Because they're the heaviest. That's right. A lot of soil is made up of rocks. Fun fact, dirt is so interesting that soil scientists study it every day. What a cool job to study soil. Sand, silt, and clay are all tiny pieces of rock that make up soil. The layer on the top of the rocks and pebbles is called sand. Remember, the first layer was the rocks and pebbles. The next one is sand. You can use a magnifying glass to see the rainbow of colors hidden in sand. Each grain has its own color: black, tan, gray, red, green, or purple. Grains of sand don't fit closely together. Water can run quickly through the spaces between them. That's why sand is so dry and why sandcastles will crumble so fast after the waves crash over them. Silt is like sand, only the silt's grains are smaller. Grains of silt fit more closely together, and they hold more water. Silt makes up the layer on top of the sand. So we have the rocks and pebble, the sand, and now the silt. Soft, sticky clay has even smaller grains than silt. You actually need a microscope to see grains of clay. Clay is almost like powder. Clay is what makes up the water that makes the water in your jar turn cloudy. Do you see it's already starting to separate? Fun fact, clay can be red, yellow, white, tan, gray, black, or blue. People use clay to mold beautiful plates and bowls. Do you guys remember using clay in our classroom? We made lots of beautiful stuff with that. You might see flecks floating on top of the cloudy water. That's the dark and gooey part of soil. It's called humus. Humus is made from rotting plants, leaves, wood, and animal matter. Sticky humus holds the rocky parts of soil together. Humus is rich with food that plants need to grow green and tall. Fun fact, soil is different in different places. Garden soil is soft and clumpy. It's a good mix of humus, sand, silt, and clay. Forest soil is often damp and full of humus from the dead leaves. Soil in a muddy riverbed is soft with silt, and desert soil is sandy and dry. It's alive! There are millions of creatures that live in soil. Beetles, sow-bugs, millipedes, and worms wiggle and crawl through the dirt. Other creatures are so small you can't even see them. These soil creatures are called decomposers. Decomposers make the humus. They eat dead plants and then they leave droppings. The droppings are like vitamins for plants that grow in the soil. Fun fact, as plants grow in soil, they use up the food in humus. Decomposers put more food back into the humus. That's awesome. Animals can make soil better for plants in other ways. Squiggling worms, trailing snails, slithering snakes, and burrowing rabbits loosen the soil as they crawl through it. They make holes in soil that lets air and water reach the roots of thirsty plants. Wow, I always heard having worms in my soil was good for my plants. Now I know why. Because they make holes in the soil to let air and water get at those thirsty plants. Fun fact, after it rains, you can see worms wiggling along the ground. The rainwater filled up all those empty spaces in the soil, so the worms have to crawl out to find air to breathe. Keeping dirt healthy. Humus, water, and air are usually found in the upper layer of soil. This layer of soil is called topsoil. That makes sense. It's on the top. It's the best soil for planting. The roots of plants hold topsoil together. Plants and trees cover topsoil so it won't get blown away by wind or carried off by the rain. The loss of topsoil is called erosion. When topsoil erodes, plants have no place to grow. This is a not-so-fun fact. When plants use up all the food in topsoil, people can replace some of the food by adding manure or chemicals. Chemical food works for a little while, but it can kill some of the decomposers that live inside the dirt. And with fewer decomposers, it takes longer to make more dirt. Depending on dirt. Dirt keeps us alive. What? Really? It sure does, because without dirt, plants cannot grow. Without plants, animals can't eat. Without plants and animals, people would have no food. So dig into dirt, pile it up, stomp it down, let it squish in between your toes, let it sift between your fingers. As you walk along, Remember all those incredible bits of nature that are holding you up. Experiments. You ready to hear some experiments that you can do? The first one is called ground raid. Get permission to scoop up a handful of soil from your yard or schoolyard. Spread it out on a white paper plate. Look for leaves, sticks, seeds, bugs, worms, and rocks. Make a list of all the things you find. If you don't know the name of any small creature you see, you could look up the pictures in a soil guide or find out. You can look it up online. Draw a picture of the most interesting bug you see. Pour some water in the area where you dug up the soil. Does the ground hold a puddle for a long time, or does the water sink right away? What does that tell you about the soil? Here's experiment number 2. What rots first? Collect 2 or 3 kinds of fruits and vegetable scraps. For example, maybe you'll get some few potato peels or a peach pit. Let leaf of lettuce. Ask an adult to help you bury the scraps outside. Bury the scraps in the same area, but put each scrap in its own hole. Make each hole about the same size and not too deep. After you cover each hole, put a stone on top so you're able to remember where you buried those scraps. Wait about a week and then go out and dig up your scraps. Which vegetable has rotted the most? Cover the scraps up again and check them another week later. Do you see worms, bugs, or other decomposers? Keep checking every week. How long does it take to see a real difference in those scraps you buried? If you have several kinds of soil around you, try burying the same kind of scraps in different spots, so in different soil. Which soil helps the scraps to rot faster? Those are cool experiments. Here's some fast facts. Topsoil terrors. Creeping deserts. Some of Earth's deserts used to be thick forests and green fields. When people cut down or burn the forests on thin topsoil, the dirt is easily blown or washed away. A farmer's field also erodes if the topsoil is too thin. As soil is lost, plants stop growing. Plants hold the water in the air close to the ground. They also provide shade and keep soil from drying out. Without plants, land dries out and becomes a desert. Dusty days. During the 1930s in the United States, there was very little rain. Farmers had not been using careful farming practices, and they lost much of their topsoil. Dust storms developed. The storms were so bad that cattle died from breathing in dirt. Dirt from the Midwest blew all the way to Washington, D.C. After the dust storms, farmers planted trees along the edges of their fields. The trees broke up the steady flow of wind, and it slowed down erosion. Today, when you drive through the country, you can still see rows of tall trees that line the fields. Wow, I never knew that. Drifting dirt. Erosion wipes away thousands of tons of topsoil each year. Wind blows away the soil, or rain washes it into rivers and streams. Erosion can also wear away rocks. The Grand Canyon, that was formed by river water wearing away at the hard rock for thousands of years. That's the end. I can't wait to check and see how our soil separates tomorrow. See you then.
Hi, everyone. Yesterday, we read the story, Dirt, the Scoop on Soil, and we did a little experiment. We took a scoop of dirt or soil and put it in a jar and poured water on it, and we waited to see if it would separate. Are you ready to check on our experiment? Here it is. I'm going to shine a little light so you can see better. Wow, it did separate. I see all these different layers. That is so cool.